Welcome to our session on intellectual prep. Today you will learn about how we do intellectual prep here at PLA. Here are our learning targets for today. Let me have someone read these for us. Yes, the person in blue on table 2. The learner will identify and understand what intellectual prep is. Identify and understand the content that you are going to teach. Identify and understand how to add engagement to his or her lesson. Identify and understand how to identify possible misconceptions and scaffold instruction. Identify and understand how to create questions that are beyond a DOK 1 level in his or her lesson plans. And identify and understand how to add more checks for understanding. All right, let's go ahead and do this do now. You'll have 2 minutes to think about this. We'll do a think, pair, share. So you'll have 2 minutes to think, and then you'll have 2 minutes to share with a partner. So as a new teacher, how will you prepare for each new day? Go ahead and silently reflect for 2 minutes. All right, our time is up. Now go ahead and find a partner there at your table. And now I'm going to give you 2 minutes to share what you reflected on with this question. Go ahead and start sharing. Give me 5. Excellent. Thank you all for coming back together. Let me have someone from table 5 share what you and your partner discussed. Awesome. I love that. Anybody else want to add something different that you and your partner discussed? There at table 6. Fabulous. Thank you for sharing. Go ahead and have a seat. We have a quote here that I would like someone at table 1 to read. The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, and the great teacher inspires. By William Ward. Quality of teaching more directly affects student learning than family income, school attended, or class size, according to another study, and the effect is stronger for disadvantaged and minority students. So we want to make sure that you are the best teachers possible to teach in front of your scholars. So we're going to talk about intellectual prep. So what is intellectual prep? Intellectual prep at PLA is a process where teachers are able to dive deeper into the content they teach so they are able to anticipate student needs and identify potential misconceptions before delivering a lesson. Let's look at the graphic that's here up on the slide. So we need 2 things to ensure all students can access the content successfully. On the left, we have knowledge of the content. Having a deep expertise in the content and curriculum by reading the text, doing the math, and knowing unit and lesson goals. Plus, knowledge of your students or your scholars. Having a deep understanding of your scholars' identities, academic strengths, and areas for growth. When you put those 2 together, the knowledge of the content, the knowledge of your students, you are ensuring that all scholars can access the content. You are able to anticipate student misconceptions and add in just-in-time supports that students need. You're able to customize units and lessons to make them culturally relevant for your scholars. So I have a video here to share with you. And as you watch the video, I'd like for you to write down one or two things that you noticed about the process.
A CRM shouldn't weigh your budget down.
The 5 conditions are system-level conditions that impact whether great teaching can take place in every classroom. Professional learning is one of those, and one of the most important ones, because it really helps take the vision and bring the vision to life in the materials that have been selected for students every day. So historically, teachers have been expected to spend a boatload of time, the vast majority of their preparation time, inventing new lessons. And what we've seen is that when you have a high quality curriculum in place, teachers can rededicate that time that they were using to scour the internet, to come up with the ultimate lesson, and use that time instead to think about how they're going to deliver that lesson to their students. Because the thing that teachers have that curriculum designers don't is an intimate knowledge of their students' strengths and weaknesses.
So one of the keys to effectively serving our students on the margins, and so serving all of our students, is making sure that teachers are really internalizing the lesson material that they're going to engage students with before they're actually engaging students with it. So as we adopt and implement high quality instructional materials, lesson preparation becomes not about finding what I'm going to put in front of my kids, and not about reading from a script, seeing it for the first time when I'm in front of my students, but actually thinking through the tasks, the texts, the questions that I'm going to engage my students with, thinking through what their misconceptions are going to be, where are they going to struggle, so that I can make decisions about how to best engage students in that content.
We're hoping that because they're not spending the time picking materials from scratch, right? Like which text do I need, and because they're not having to do that, that they really can think about some of those places for differentiation, and what does it look like to make sure that our most needy kids, so be it our Ls, our ESC students, what are we doing to make sure that they also leave that lesson with as close to mastery as possible.
So we really need teachers to have the time and space to think about those adjustments to ensure that all kids are getting access to grade appropriate assignments and deep engagement.
Thank you for your engagement during that video. So you were to write one or two things that you noticed about the process. Can I have someone from table 3 share what you wrote down? Excellent, thank you. What about someone from table 1? Yes, very, very good. We are going to learn about this process so you can be sure to be prepared to stand up in front of your scholars, ready to teach every single day. So we want to think about why it's important for you as a teacher to do intellectual prep. Let me have some volunteers read the reasons why. All right. Deepens teacher understanding. Teachers with a deep command of the content are more responsive and adaptive during instruction. Improves lesson quality. Lessons are sharper, more focused on the learning objective, and better scaffolded to meet student needs. Anticipates student misconceptions. Teachers are better prepared to spot and address common understandings. Boosts student achievement. When lessons are well prepared intellectually, students are more likely to master rigorous content. Increases teacher confidence. Teachers feel more prepared and flexible in the classroom, leading to stronger classroom culture and better execution. So now what I'd like for you to do is to choose the reason that resonates the most for you and think about why you chose that one. We will be doing a hand up, stand up, pair up to share with a partner the reason we chose. All right, so let me have everyone stand up. walk around and find someone from a different table that you can pair up with. All right, you should have your partner. I'm going to put on the timer for 2 minutes for you to go ahead and share with each other. All right, give me 5. I heard some amazing conversations taking place as I walked around. Let me have this pair right here share. What did which ones did you choose and why? I love that. Yes, excellent. Thank you so much. Let me have another pair share the ones that you all shared with each other. Let me see you back there. Nice. Thank you so much. We need to make sure that we are ready each and every day to stand up in front of our scholars, and intellectual prep will allow us to feel more confident as teachers and be more prepared to teach in front of our scholars. So here are the areas that you can review your lesson plans for. Let me have some volunteers read each bullet. Review, we want to make sure that all students can access the content. So we'll review lesson plans for content. Ensure you understand the content you will be teaching. Engagement, ensure there's enough engagement for all scholars to engage in their learning. Misconceptions, identify where scholars might have struggled to understand some of the content. Scaffold, where scholars might have misconceptions, identify how to scaffold the instruction. And then check for understanding. Identify that there are questions identified in advance that are DOK2 or higher. We are going to look at each one of these in more depth. So we'll start off with knowledge of the content. As a teacher, it is imperative that you internalize the standard or objective. You should be able to explain not just what scholars should do, but what scholars must understand and why it matters. Why is this important for you to do this before each lesson? And how and when will you make the time to do this? I want you to take a minute for you to silently respond to these questions. I'll put on the timer. Go ahead and get started. All right, so you've just done the think part of the think, pair, share. Now we're going to have you pick a partner at your table to share with. We're going to give you 2 minutes, 1 minute for each person to share their responses. All right, does everybody have a partner? All right, go ahead. The person with the longest hair, share first. Go. Okay, it is time to switch. Give me 5. Again, I heard some amazing conversations as I walked around the room. Can I have a pair volunteer to share what you discussed? Great, thank you. There at table 4. Excellent. Thank you for sharing. So we want you to have access to some lesson plans and actually get to try to apply what we are discussing. And so what we are going to do is you are going to grab a lesson plan there at the table. You're going to get with a partner and you're going to review the standard objective, and content part of the lesson. And I want you all to talk about what would you do to ensure you know the standard, objective, and content well? What would you do to ensure you know the standard, objective, and content well? All right, we're going to have you stand up. Find a partner. And I'm going to put the timer on for 5 minutes for you to discuss. Go ahead and get started. All right, can I have a pair share what you and your partner discussed? What did you notice in the lesson plans, and how would you, if these were your lesson plans, how would you ensure you know that standard, objective, and content well to be able to stand up in front of scholars and teach them? Excellent, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. So now we're moving on to the second area that you should focus on, and that's knowledge of your scholars or your students. As a teacher, it is imperative that you know your scholars so that you are able to differentiate instruction to meet diverse learning styles, language levels, and academic abilities. Why is this important for you to know before a lesson? And what are some specific things you should be aware of with your scholars before a lesson? We're going to do a turn and talk, and I'd love for you to answer these two questions with the person next to you. You'll each have a minute to share. Why is it important for you to know before a lesson? And what are some specific things you should be aware of with your scholars before the lesson? Go ahead and get started. All right, give me 5. All right, can I have someone from table 6, a pair of you, share what you all discussed? Great, thank you for volunteering. I love that, nice, good. What about someone from table 2? Excellent. Yeah, I love how you brought up about special education scholars, and an IEP might be a good place for you to learn some information about your scholars, and you might learn ways that you can teach them more effectively based on what the IEP says. So yes, very, very nice. All right, let's look at the next area to focus on. We are going to talk about engagement strategies. We're going to look at 5 strategies that you'll be able to use in your classroom beginning on day 1. Teach Like a Champion emphasizes engaging scholars through techniques that focus on active learning, clear communication, and a supportive learning environment. Here are 5 TLAC, Teach Like a Champion, engagement and strategies that you can use in your classroom. Can I have a volunteer read Cold Call? Thank you. Cold call. This technique ensures every student is prepared to answer a question by calling on them randomly, promoting active participation and preventing students from coasting. The question, pause, name sequence helps students know they need to be ready to answer. Can I have someone read No Opt Out? Excellent, thank you. Teachers actively challenge students to give it a shot, even if they express uncertainty. fostering a culture of perseverance and pushing students to engage with the material. Our last three here, turn and talk. Can I have a volunteer share this? Or read it aloud, please. Turn and talk, facilitating brief partner discussions to allow students to process information, share ideas, and engage with the material in a more personal way. Stretch it. The stretch it strategy is a technique that helps teachers continue the learning after a student has answered a question correctly. And our last one is everybody writes. Allowing students time to write before you ask them to discuss builds participation ratio and think ratio, enabling all students to participate. And you will hear more about that in the coaching cycle session later on when we about participation and think ratio. All right, so we are going to look at each one of these five strategies through a video. And as you watch the video, we want you to jot down one thing that you noticed.
Five, four, three, two, one. Thank you. All right, looking around, I saw some good math. I saw some simple mistakes, but mostly I saw a lot of thought. I saw a lot of thought and a lot of effort. And whenever we have those two things, we're always going to be successful. So let's take a look at what we have. Andrew, can you please read number one for us?
A square has sides that measure 4 centimeters each.
Here we are, Mia. What now?
Then you're going to multiply 2 times 3 to get the length, which is 6. And then multiply 5 times 3, which is 15.
Yes. The length of this one was 2 times the scale factor of 3. The new one is 6 inches. Now, let's see, Jasmine, what are we multiplying by? Marina, what will be the size of our new square? All right, let's see. Remy, what do we do now?
Go to a small rectangle and add 5 and 2 together twice, and you'll get 14.
Excellent. And that, so you're finding the what?
The perimeter.
Yeah, you found the perimeter of our little scale. That common difference is also known as our what?
Rate of change.
Rate of change.
I'm sorry, the common difference is also known as our?
Rate of change.
Rate of change, thank you. And Kayla, what is this common difference? Number 7. First step, Kenneth, what is it? All right, we're almost home. Diamond, what now? What do we do now?
You multiply 15 and 6
Why am I going to multiply them?
to get the area.
Perfect. Area of a rectangle, base times height, length times width, whatever you want to think of, we're definitely going to say 15 times 6, and that's going to give us what, Don?
90.
90. And not just 90, but Ernesto, 90 what?
Centimeters.
Ooh,
Wait. Inches.
inches.
Square.
Perfect. Next step. Alexis, what do we do?
We try to find out how to get to find the number turned to 0.
Absolutely. So, Alexis, finish it off. Nathan said we're going to start with -3n. How are we going to finish it?
Plus 1.
Plus 1. Perfect. Now let's check.
All right. Who wants to share one thing that you noticed from the video when we're thinking about the strategy cold call? Thank you. Right there at table 5. Yeah, definitely, right? The teacher was calling different scholars out, and the scholars knew that they could be called on at any time, so they had to be prepared because they could be called out to answer a question. Yes, thank you. All right. Let's look at no opt-out. Here's our video for this one. As you watch it, note one thing that you noticed.
ln of 1 over the cube root of e. So Zanaya, change your answer.
-1/3.
Good. Last one. ln of 1 over the 5th root of e squared. ln of 1 over the 5th root of e squared. I think Algethea, you're the only one that hasn't gone. Try again. It was the 5th root.
So 1/5 and then square.
You said negative 5 halves. Someone explain what her mistake is, and then she'll be able to correct it. Don't give her the answer, though. Sinus.
So when you get the cube root or the 5th root or anything, that's the denominator of the fraction. So you have 5 halves, but the 5 is supposed to be in the denominator. And
That's good enough. So what's the answer?
So it's 2/5? Negative 2/5.
Good. Okay, that's it.
Okay, so what did you notice in this video for no opt-out? Let me have someone from table 7 share. Awesome. Yes. And remember, these are strategies that you'll be able to incorporate in your classroom as of day 1. So be sure to be writing down some notes so you have these as options for your first day of school. All right, our next one is turn and talk. We've been practicing this one throughout all of day 1 and today already. And so let's go ahead and watch the video and see. And I want you to jot down one thing that you noticed.
Let's look at one more. How's it different? Turn talk to go. Yes.
And I said that this example showed that Jonas's father was more sympathetic towards the new child because when he paused when he was saying little guy, so it was like he felt bad, so he like couldn't
How?
like
How do you know he felt bad?
because he's pausing, so like he can't get it out, and he says like because he doesn't weigh that much, he's like he's only a baby, like he's only like really innocent, like he's really young, like he doesn't have like he has to die when he's like just born.
Kali. Because it seems like a lot of people have converged upon that as the real reason. But I agree with Nigel. We do need to break down rejecting the authority and wisdom of the governing body. What does that mean? Zoom in on just that phrase. Turn to talk to your partner. What does that mean? Pause. So when you come back and I say, hey, what does that mean? The one thing I don't want to hear is, well, I think it means that they're rejecting the authority and wisdom of the governing body. Yeah, I agree. But what does that mean in your own words? Go. Come back. 3, 2, 1.
I thought Chris and I thought that like when we broke it down, we thought that it meant like it is when a child is not willing to accept or agree with the ideas of the government.
All right. What is something that you noticed about in this video? What is something you noticed? Let me have someone from table 1. Yeah, the seats were the scholars were paired up next to each other, so that allowed for a more easier access for turn and talks. Yeah, excellent. Anybody else? Yes, they're at table 4. Excellent. Yes, nice. Thank you. All right, so let's look at stretch it. As you watch this video, jot down one thing you noticed.
Last one on the front side. This statement was most likely made by whom? Brittany. Booker T. Washington. What line or piece from that clued you into Washington? Kamari?
I thought the last part where he said that the enjoyment of all privileges will come to us must be the result of severe and constant struggle rather than artificial forcing.
Why'd you pull that out?
Because I know he was going against what W.E.B. Du Bois was saying. W.E.B. Du Bois was basically saying that he wanted to integrate blacks into society politically and try to get them to get an education, whereas Booker T. Washington felt like they should become economically stable and earn their place in society.
Well said. Yummy, you want to add?
Yeah, I thought also the first part where it says social equality is the extremist folly. Essentially exactly what Kamara was saying.
Great. Let's flip to the back then. Number 7.
All right, what did you notice? Someone from table 3. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Had another scholar actually stretch it, but they could actually have the same scholar stretch it as well, correct? Yeah, great activity to really push their thinking even further. All right, and our last one, everybody writes. As you watch the video, jot down one thing you noticed.
So our purpose statement right now, we're talking about women. I want us to sophisticate it. So below the line of your do now, you have a space to rewrite your purpose statement. So if your purpose statement was, as Semi said, women should fight with their mind, I want you now to use this as your beginning of your sentence. Although Wolf mentions the gender inequalities present within a time of war, fill in the blank. Take a minute to do this independently. This is going on draft 2 of purpose statement. Go ahead and begin. Finish up that last thought. Pens, pencils down, eyes up here. We're going to go to Felicia, then we're going to go to Semis.
Although Wolf mentions gender inequality within a time period.
Start over.
Although Wolf mentions the gender inequalities within a time of war, Wolf also exemplifies how women can play a huge factor to it by simply using their minds.
Semis, go ahead.
Although Wolf mentions the gender inequalities present within the time of war, she encourages women to join the fight of men to get their freedom.
I want to point out what Semis added in. Semis, the key part of your topic, or your purpose statement was what?
With men.
With men. Because Wolf, when we use this term although in the beginning, right, Destiny, you told me that although means what? Despite. So despite talking about gender inequality, she's actually trying to get both men and women involved in this, okay? I want you to do one more draft of your purpose statement. This time, include a strong purpose verb. Just take 1 minute, revise. You can rewrite it, or you can just cross out, add in. 1 minute. Go ahead. Nice work. Go ahead and put pens and pencils down. We're going to go to Will, and then we're going to go to Shaquem.
Okay, what did you notice in this video? And we have someone from table 5. Nice. Does anybody want to add to that? Let's do the stretch it. Who wants to add? Table 2. Nice. Excellent. Yes. All right. So you just got to view videos on 5 engagement strategies that you can use in the classrooms. So now what we're going to do is you're going to go back to those lesson plans that were provided for you, and you're going to identify where you can add 2 of the 5 engagement strategies that were shared with you. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to add the 2 engagement strategies to the lesson plans. And then afterwards, I'll have you do a turn and talk, and you'll each have a minute to share where you added your engagement strategies and why you added them there. So let me go ahead and put the timer on for 3 minutes for you to go ahead and look through the lesson plans and identify where you might add those 2 engagement strategies. All right, go ahead and turn and talk. You have 2 minutes. The person with the most dogs, go ahead and talk first. All right, give me 5. I heard some wonderful conversations. So why or how is it beneficial for you to do intellectual prep and adding additional engagement strategies to your lesson? Let me have someone from table 4 share. Why or how is it beneficial for you to do intellectual prep and adding additional engagement strategies to your lesson? Yes, I love that, right? I mean, you want to ensure that your scholars are engaged and listening and learning. And if you are the one up there doing all the talking, you can't necessarily know if they are actually paying attention. And by using engagement strategies, it allows you to get them to talk about what they're learning. Excellent. All right, so now let's look at the next area that you can focus on, and this is misconceptions and the importance of scaffolding. So looking at this during intellectual prep ensures that you're thinking about where your scholars might struggle. So you need to know your scholars' prior knowledge because it enables you to predict where they may get stuck or confused. You can pre-plan clarifications, scaffolds, or models to address those gaps in real time. Here are some questions that you should consider when you are doing the intellectual prep and thinking about misconceptions. What are the most important ideas scholars must grasp? And where are scholars likely to struggle or get confused? How will I address these misunderstandings? All right, this is important when you're thinking about the I do when you're teaching your content. So we're going to have you go and review the lesson plans that have been provided to you. And I want you to review the lesson content, the I do, right? Ask yourself these 3 questions. What are the most important ideas scholars must grasp? Where are scholars likely to struggle or get confused? And how will you address these misunderstandings or scaffold learning? I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do this on your own. And then afterwards, you will pair up with someone from your table and you'll have 5 minutes to discuss what you all came up with. Go 5 minutes right now silently to go ahead and consider and answer these questions and applying it to the lesson plan. Go. As a presenter, you can read the room, and if 5 minutes is too much time, you can give them less time. So please make sure about that. All right, let's then find your partner, go ahead and share with them what you came up with. Go ahead and get started. The person who's the oldest goes first. All right, give me 5. Thank you. Let me have someone from table 3 share the process that you went through to identify, what you needed to focus on with this content and where any misconceptions might arise. Share with us which lesson plan you have. Fabulous. That is so great. Reminder that you will be doing this and thinking about this when you are writing your own lesson plans and then doing the prep to prepare for the day to be able to teach and get in front of your scholars. So now we're going to talk about checks for understanding. There's 2 different ways to do that. The first one is by pushing scholar thinking through deeper questioning. Teachers should design high leverage questions ahead of time that push scholar thinking deeper. Many times what happens is teachers stop at basic level questions. Teachers should ask themselves, what probing questions will I ask to push thinking deeper? And so we want to make sure that you are planning ahead of time what questions you might ask. So that way you ensure that you're not only asking lower level questions. And to assist you with this, we're going to look at different types of questions you can ask. So this is Webb's depth of knowledge, and there are 4 DOK depths of knowledge levels. We're going to explore each one to make sure that you are aware of these. And so DOK 1 focuses on recall and reproducing data, definitions, details, facts, information, and procedures. Basically, it's just knowledge acquisition. And that's where many of our questions stop. We want to go and make it more rigorous, and so we should move on. DOK 2. This is where you use academic concepts and cognitive skills to answer questions, address problems, accomplish tasks, and analyze texts and topics. So this is more on focusing more on the skill and the concepts, and you're starting to hopefully apply some skills. DOK 3 is where you're thinking strategically and reasonably about how and why concepts, ideas, operations, and procedures can be used to attain and explain answers, maybe conclusions or decisions, outcomes. This is where you're doing some more analysis, some strategic thinking in this one. And the last one is DOK level 4. This is where you think extensively about what else can be done. How else can learning be used? How could the student personally use what they have learned? This is where this focuses on extending the learning. So we are, let's answer this question. Why is it important to be mindful of the types of questions you ask? Let me have someone just answer that out loud for us. Yes, you there at table 6. Nice. All right. At your table, you should have this document, the DOK question stems. I want to give you 2 minutes to just review them and look at them so you can consider what types of questions are at each DOK level. Go ahead, put the timer on for 2 minutes. Go ahead and look at the questions. See if you can notice the difference between each level. Now that you've seen those sample question stems. Anybody have want to add to what you heard earlier about why it is important to be mindful of the types of questions you ask? Yes, here at table 1. Excellent. Yes, we want to make sure that we are pushing our scholar thinking through deeper questioning. And the best way to do that, is to prepare your questions in advance and be thinking how you can push their thinking deeper and not just stay at the recall level at the okay level 1. Now, the second way to check for understanding is making sure that they actually understand what you are teaching. As teachers, we must be sure that what we are teaching, scholars are learning. One way to do this is through checks for understanding. It is critically important for teachers to check for understanding throughout a lesson because it ensures that teaching is effective and students are actually learning in real time. Here are some ways for a teacher to check for understanding. All right, can I have someone read do now? Yes, right there at table 3. Do now, a short task related to the day's objective. You review a question, you do a quick write or a math problem. Thank you. Someone at table 2, read the next one. Quick poll or thumbs up or down. Use gestures or electronic polls like Kahoot or Google Forms to gauge baseline understanding. We have some more here. We talked about the cold call earlier, but equity sticks can be used. You randomly select students to explain their thinking. Equity sticks can be created by using popsicle sticks, and you write the scholar's name on the popsicle stick. So when you pull out a popsicle stick, you're calling out a scholar. Who can read the next one? Yes, at table 2. Whiteboards. Use mini whiteboards for immediate feedback. Those are so amazing. Provide a dry erase marker for the scholar, ask a question, and then you are able to get them to answer. And when you're ready, you have them hold it up and you can get an idea of where your scholar's understanding is at. The next one, can I have someone from table 5 read it? Aggressive monitoring. Circulate the room and provide targeted feedback on a specific skill or concept. We saw a great example of that when we were watching the video on Everyone Writes. Circulating with targeted questions. Listen in as students work and ask probing questions to assess understanding. We also got to view that in the video. And the last one is exit ticket, a short written task aligned to the lesson objective. An example could be problem solving, summary, or reflection. All right, so now we're going to go back to those lesson plans that you were provided. We want you to answer these questions. Where can you add questions that are beyond the DOK 1 level? Use the question stems document to support you. And where can you add more checks for understanding to ensure that the scholars are learning what you are teaching? We're going to give you 5 minutes to do this on your own. And then we'll do a hand up, stand up, pair up. Go ahead and get started. Go. All right. Nice job working there quietly. Let's go ahead and all stand up, walk around, high five a partner. You will have 5 minutes to pair up and share what questions you added to the lesson plan and where you added some checks for understanding. The person with the most siblings goes first. Go. All right, go ahead and switch if you haven't yet. All right. Can I have one teacher share out how this process felt to you as you went through to do this? Yes, thank you, from table 6. I'm so glad you thought that it was important and helpful and you see the benefit of this. Amazing. Thank you so much. All right, this is the end of our time with discussing intellectual prep. So I'd like you just to take some time to reflect and commit here. Here are 3 questions. Why is it important for you to engage in intellectual prep? During what part do you think that you will need to spend more time and why? And what will be your commitment to ensure that you are ready to teach each day for your scholars? I'm going to give you 3 minutes to go ahead and do this on your own, and then we'll do a turn and talk. Go ahead and get started. All right, thank you. That time went by quickly, right? Let's go ahead and do a turn and talk. Find someone at your table. You'll have 2 minutes. The person who, let's see, the person who has darker colored hair goes first. Go ahead and turn and talk and share your reflections. Go. If you haven't switched, go ahead and do so. Awesome. Can I have someone share your reflection? Thank you. They're at table 2. Nice. Let me have one more person. Yes, they're at table 6. All right. I want to thank you for your participation and engagement in this session. I hope that you were able to learn and get a good introduction to what intellectual prep is. You will be doing this with us and your leaders to ensure that you are prepared to stand up and teach in front of your scholars so you can provide the best lesson possible and the best learning takes place. Thank you so much for engaging in this session.